Hello everyone, how you doing? And we have our girl back. Hi Elba, people was asking for you and I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss you, everyone, too. So, yeah, finally I'm here. I'm so happy to be here.
And Perry is the first one in line. Hey Perry, how you doing? Happy
Yay.
Friday everyone. I had been excited all week for this live. We too. And we are missing a guest. We are waiting for Lena Cisco. That's the reason we start 5 minutes late. We have a special segment that Lena need to be doing before she does the clubhouse. So we hope Lena show up, but if it's not, we have another guest that we pre-record. Hey Tracy, hello everyone.
Yay.
And Perry says, "Hello ladies, happy to see you back, Elba. I miss you." I know everybody
Thank
miss
you,
her.
Perry. I miss you, everyone.
Hey Stacy, how you doing? Hi everyone, how are you, Elba? You see, everybody
Great.
was asking for you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm great. I
And
haven't
you're
been long
back.
time, so I'm great.
Yeah. You have your vaccine didn't and the second shot didn't ended up
Mhm.
being as good as you
Mhm.
expected.
No, no. But I'm here, I'm back, and I'm feeling really great to be here.
This is what Lena maybe join. Whoop whoop. She haven't show up yet, and we know that she have clubhouse in like 24 minutes. So I hope nothing happened with Lena. I was texting this morning. No answer back yet. No emails for her. So let's keep going. And today we have a special, and most people says, why you putting Hitler with Gandhi? Because they have a correlation, because they know each other,
Mhm.
because they exchange letters, and they mobilize the world at the same time. When people use the term using the media for political campaigns or the term influencers, we have influencers. We have people who influence the world in a good and a bad way. We're not talking all the influencers are good, not all the influencers are bad. I remember when COVID started, actually, we showed the video of a woman who was doing, she called herself an influencer that on the beginning of the COVID, she was doing a challenge, leaking toilets, and there were a lot of people who get sick. Kids even die
Mhm.
for the campaign that she did. So again, influencers. These two were influencers too. Moonlight View says hi, Susan and Elba and Chatters. And she says, quite curious to hear your impressions as Gandhi does show us split stage of expression. I think Lena is texting audio clip. Um, I am live now. Okay,
Perfect.
Lena sent me an audio, but I don't know what it is. I am live, Lena. If you're hearing us, go back. So the first section of the presentation was supposed to be Lena. We don't have her here, so I guess that we're not going to have Lena with us as something happened. Uh, if you want to know some of the things that we're going to be talking in the live today, and if we're going to learn with us, you can go to Human Behavior Hacker School. And if you want to know the troubles that we are getting, you can go to humanbehaviorlab.com. And Lena is texting me and says, I feel, oh, Lena sent an audio, but she got stuck on the doctor. Wait. Okay, so Lena is not going to be with us. I just get a text message that she got stuck in the doctor. So let's do that. The review of the letters of Gandhi. We're going to start with Gandhi. And sorry for my pause, but she sent me an audio file and text me in the middle of the show live. That happened is called life in life shows. Thank God we have you, Elba. So let's start with our friend Gandhi. Oops. My bad. My bad. My bad. So as you can see, we are incorporating new things on the lives, and we are incorporating different channels. We're not going to be doing only face reading, and instead to have me or Elba talking, now we're doing videos with images and the bio of the people that we're going to be talking. Between 1939 and 1941, Gandhi wrote to Hitler two letters and the way that he tried to persuade Hitler to stop doing what he was doing. The idea to have Lina today was to talk about the language that Gandhi used when he was communicating with Hitler. We have a special guest too talking about the handwriting analysis on Hitler and Gandhi too. One of the things that get my attention, at least in this letter, the other one is too long, so we're not going to analyze it, is that this is from July 23rd, 1939. It says, "Dear friend, it's quite clear that you are today the one person in the world who can prevent a war which may reduce humanity to a savage state. Must you pay that price for an object, however worthy it may appear to you be? Will you listen to the appeal of one who has deliberately shunned the method of war, not without considerable success? I remain your sincere friend, Mahatma Gandhi," to Hitler. Some people says that I don't see this letter to be personal, the language. It's one of the things that strike me about the language that Gandhi used, that he was supposed to be a humanitarian. He was supposed to be to help Hitler to reasoning, to help Hitler to not to proceed with what he was going to be doing. But one of the things in elicitation and analysis of the language is not only that you can find deception, but you too can determine and define what are the words and how emotional you can be. One of the things that I love analyzing speeches and inaugural speeches is most people was under the impression that maybe Reagan, for being an actor, or Obama were one of the most emotional people when they did the inaugural speech. Actually, it was George Bush was one of the most emotional, one of the people who used more emotional words during the speech. What happened here is Gandhi spent for 2, 4, 6, 7 lines, 4 lines talking about the job that he did instead to the job that Hitler did. Make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you try to, it's happened the same in interrogation. If you are trying to convince someone to not to do something or to try to make an impression on another person, what you need to do is what we call ego up. You need to talk about how big and how important and how the history is going to remember you. Instead to says, well, you can be remembered as the man who stopped a war. You can be remembered, you are a great soldier, because Gandhi was Hitler was to the socialists. He was a candidate for president, and that happened at the time this letter was sent. So we have a person who have an ego, a person who had revolutionized the Nazi party. We have a person who designed their own flag because the swastika, and we have a really good video done by somebody else. And when things are well done, don't touch it. We have a person who has mobilized millions of people, who is trying to put Germany back on the map, international relationship. He was hand to hand with Mussolini. And you have so much to ego up this person instead to says, must you pay that price for an object, however worthy it may appear to you? It's an attack between lines. And after that, he says, will you listen to appeal to one who was deliberately shunned the meed of a word, no without considerable success? Don't talk about your success, what you have done, what you have not done. It's about ego up. So every time that you want to talk to someone, I was having lunch today with a person who is a forensic accountant. He's an auditor for the government, and we were talking about scams. And he was saying that he was telling me that the biggest Ponzi scams have as a victim people who have a lot of ego, people who is more egocentric and they think they're more intelligent than other people are easy to fall on scams. Why? Because they think they're too intelligent, so nobody's going to get them. So what happened in this case is I think that Gandhi missed a huge opportunity to play on the ego, to use words that appeal to him, give him power. In any point he's giving power, you cannot talk as a humanitarian or go to the heart to a person who is willing to kill million people. And at this point, the things will start happening. What do you think, Ilva?
Yeah, I think the same. I think that he started like see me instead to talk about the things that Hitler had been doing.
Yes, Perry says the language sounds more diplomatic than personal. Yeah, but you need to remember something, Perry. It is personal, but a not personal way that you should talk to a person like Hitler. It's it is diplomatic, and I do understand that he was trying to use diplomacy. But believe me, my father was a diplomatic, and he was really good talking to people and make people do whatever he want because he knew that he didn't need to be the most important person in the room. Basic concept, you need to make the other person feel that the other person is the most important person in the room. And in this case, the letter do not address any of the basics that you need when you need to ego up and you try to persuade someone to do something they don't want to do, but you want them to get done.
Mhm.
Elba?
Yeah, I think the same. As the way Gandhi wrote the letter, Hitler is not going to pay attention if we're talking this way because Hitler wasn't like he wasn't diplomatic enough to do things. So
Moonlight View says Gandhi was a lawyer. Yeah,
yeah,
we put it on the bio. He was a lawyer. He shouldn't have known better. That is one of the reasons that for being a lawyer, he didn't compose a letter the way a lawyer. I think any lawyer would have done a better job. Personally, I don't think the language is correct for the outcome. This is the other letter. We can post it later since we don't have Lena, that she is the word nerd for talking today. So we're going to go to the next one. And we're going to talk about the body language. And we're going to talk about the body language and the tone of the voice from Gandhi and from Hitler. Okay, we have, not in my office in Indiana. They were, Dick says, oh, this is what it's about. I was wondering why they were being brought up together. Yeah, because they were related, they exchanged communication, and the two stories happen at the same time. So we have India with one process, and we have Germany with another process. Perry says, this is fascinating. Thank you. I knew it's going to be a fascinating topic, and Elba and myself, we were preparing, working really hard all the week. So we're going to talk about Gandhi, body language, and the tone of the voice. I'm gonna run these 24 seconds. I'm gonna let you hear the voice because maybe you know about Gandhi, but you never heard his voice. And we're gonna talk about Gandhi, and after we're gonna talk about Hitler. But pay attention to the voice, pay attention to the pace as he walked. Pay attention how he walked among his people and how Gandhi was sitting and sharing space with his people all the time. And you're gonna see how the diminish of Hitler was.
There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I do not see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all proof, because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses. It transcends the senses, but it is possible.
So, guys, Perry says Gandhi will be taking Susan training if he were alive. And Moonlight says, true, Perry. Thank you, guys. I don't know if it's that much, but this is fascinating.
Yes.
Okay, you hear the voice, the Dickens. Actually, Gandhi was talking in a monotone.
Mm-hmm.
He was monotone. He was quiet. You're not going to hear a pitch on the voice. Uh, Believe it or not, it's not that easy to find videos of Gandhi when he walking. Most of them were pictures. I spent 2 hours this morning looking for videos where you can see his the way he walked. And even when he was young, he walked with like a dog with the
Yeah.
two. I didn't
Like a
notice
duck.
that
Uh-huh.
before.
Yes.
He went with the 2 feet, like maybe because he was always barefoot. And another thing, he always was showing the chest, like open chest, and even he did public speeches doing that. And the way he walked was like it didn't walk with that ego. What do you
No.
think,
I
Elva?
think the same. He was like doing this without putting his ego, and people can maybe he can be more approachable if he's not like being like, this is me. It's like, I am like you.
Yeah, Gavin says that this will have been typical of the format of a standard letters at that time. Yeah, I don't disagree that depending on the letters, but I have reviewed letters from Napoleon, I have reviewed letters from Mussolini, I have reviewed speeches and letters from a lot of people and from even lawyers. And even if you, I don't know if you have any of you have the chance to see the correspondence that Benjamin Franklin sent to the people when he want to get elected president. What Benjamin Franklin did was he took pictures of his family. Somebody else took a picture of his family, and behind the pictures, he personalized letters and personalized messages depending who the letters with the pictures would send. And I remember reading the different messages that obviously other people wrote, but were decided were going to be the message by Benjamin Franklin, and how he in four phrases or two phrases he can capture how to communicate and how to give the other person the sense that I'm the only person in the room, I'm the most important person in the room. And when I say that, I don't think Gandhi captured that, it's what I'm talking about. Too rusty on both of them. So I think Gandhi explained why he walked the way he did. It was purposely that is. Probably he walked, his body demeanor wasn't aggressive.
No.
Actually, if you see Gandhi walking, he wasn't aggressive. He was his pause. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm extremely tired today, I barely can talk. His pause, he diminished. You're never gonna feel threat by a person like Gandhi. He wasn't on the way to manipulate people by his pause. He was more on the words. Hi everyone, Hercler. Gandhi first words in his 1960s speech, there is a salvation for India. Our language is a reflection of ourselves. Yeah, correct?
That's true.
For emotional and temperamental manipulation. Oh, sorry, it continued. To Rusty on both. For I think Gandhi explained why he walked the way he did. It was properly that is. And for emotional and temperamental manipulation. Could be. More common.
I
Oh,
think we have more.
okay, now I got it. I'm saying he forced the guards to walk slow as a form of protest. We'll chill on this as I really am too rusty on them both. Don't worry. You know what? This is a place for both. Hey, Jennifer, agree. He wasn't aggressive in his walk. It seems more purposely. Yeah, I would say something, and I want to be careful. Manipulation not always is in a negative way. Profiler is not always a bad word. What I'm saying is you can manipulate people to do good things. Okay, whoever have kids here in this life know what I'm talking about. Elba, how many times you manipulate your kids to do the vet, to do things or eat healthy, even though if they don't want you, because you want a good end. So I know manipulation sounds horrible, but it's a way. It's the way we do in life. You want to have a lower price for the car you're going to buy. You manipulate your words in a way to get away and negotiate better. Elba?
Yeah, I think, and you have a point here because since we are kids, we start knowing or learning how to manipulate others. It's like you said, in a positive or negative, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we learn how to manipulate. And it's true. I do with my kids. I do it with my husband. And it's something that I'm doing to a positive way. But at the end of the day, I manipulate them.
The professor says classic passive aggressiveness manifests in the body. Mm. Dick says, we do it so much we forget we do it as an adults too. That's what I'm saying. Thank you for clarifying. You see, that's what I love about our life and our tribe. Now, we're going to go to the next slide. But again, there are different approaches. There are different ways to 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 generate a movement because at the end of the day, for good or for bad, both generate a movement. And there are a lot of things, a little dirty things about Gandhi that I was reading, and we were talking with Elva. I don't remember it was today or Wednesday.
Wednesday.
He swore celibacy, so he was sleeping with young girls in bed to prove to himself and to everyone that his celibacy was kind of creepy reading that
Creepy.
about Gandhi.
Yeah.
Okay, now, da 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 da, let's go with the face reading. What do you want to start with?
I want to start with the ears.
I knew that.
Because
I knew
I
that.
love the ears. It is something that you can see here in the first picture, 1991. You can see that he has stick out ears, small ears, and low ears. Now, if you go to the next one, he still have the same kind of features. But in the last one, in the 1947, he changed his ears like totally. He moved to he still be like thinking outside the box, but now he take information faster. He tend to do it like, okay, this is the information. I'm going slow. I need the whole information. But at the end, he change and he get faster. And if you can notice, even the ears is still small, but they start being bigger. So
Dicky says,
he's
I never
still
saw
be
a
big
picture
one.
of Hein Yang before. You know what? It's really difficult to find. It's a
Oh,
picture that Elba found. But the fascinating part is what Elba saying is how many times we have says that ears change, nose change, your face change. And I remember people giving us a hard time and says, oh, you manipulating the picture. It's impossible. The ears cannot get, not only the ears get bigger, they get higher. So we went from a person who was taking everything slow, that was extremely visual, didn't process information really fast, take his time to everything, to like boom, playing
Mhm.
catching with the mirage.
Yes, I think the same. I think the same. And I think it's so amazing to see these changes because in that times plastic surgery it wasn't like one thing to do it. So things can change. Your features can change.
Yeah, and one of the things that he always keep a mustache. He always was covered. We need to remember the upper lip is has to do with feelings.
Yes.
So when you cover your upper lip, is because you don't talk about your emotions. You
Hmm.
can be emotionally involved. You can be emotionally to express, but doesn't mean that you talk about your emotions. Actually, if you pay attention to Gandhi's speeches, I hear the speeches, but I didn't see the video, the video, only the audio. It's not a lot of video of Gandhi, is that he was expressive and he was emotional when he talked about the people. But it was really difficult that you're going to hear Gandhi talking about his feelings as a person. Okay, we got. You can't keep. Now that I have you here, I can pay attention to the message, and you do the face reading.
Yeah, I was reading the message, and that's the message that I read, and that's one point that I want to talk, because then if you can see the nose, someone that can do a lot of things for humanity and everything, at the end of the day, he was like he doesn't trust in people. So
Mm-hmm.
that's for me. When I saw the pictures, when I put the three pictures, I was like, Okay, what happened with his nose?" So he was like a really humanitarian figure, but he didn't trust on anyone.
Jennifer says the same. You
Yeah.
see, guys, how you start picking things. And when I
Hmm.
says, A, pick pictures of yourself that when you were young and put it together and start reading what happened in your face. And I say it when something happened to me this week, I was like, I barely can. I was telling Elba, I'm so tired and I'm sick. I just want to go to sleep. We have open class, and after that, I have a black tie party. Then I cannot say no. But if you tell me what I want to do, I go to sleep. And you can see I have like more baggy and saggy
Hmm.
eyes. My eyelids are more exposed because when you don't sleep well, you sleep deprivation. One of the things they have is you can have hallucination. It's like it's worse than a hangover. So because I'm more cautious, actually, I have more eyelids today than normal. Why? Because I need help and I need to ask for people to like, yeah, can you do that? But by the way, I start training so I can lift my arm. So I need help from others. Can you push the button of the elevator? Thank you. So my eyelids today are more exposed. And one day I think there can be adapted in your face.
I think
With
so.
those ears, he was born to cause some issues with the status quo. Actually, if you pay attention to these, can you see these? No inner reach.
No, he doesn't have.
No, no, I'm sorry, no outer reach.
No. Uh-huh.
What it mean that when you see a person that is that way, it's a person who's connected with the reality outside, or they have their own idea about the world that is around you. Elba?
Ah, okay. I thought it was
Ah,
you were asking two people, so I was like, okay, let's see if someone else can answer. But yeah, they think that they have his own world. They have his own reality about the things that are happening around him.
says Shivani says that nose of his also changed. Eagle nose come along with age. No,
No.
no, it's not related to age. I have seen people the nose has become pointy, smaller, thinner. No, it's there do are features that come in with the age that depending how you age. And Elva is is going ballistic because she wants to do twins, and we find twins that and it's amazing, like the wrinkles, everything is different on the face because both were astronauts and one went to the moon for a year and came back. So the way they age is different, and the features on the face change it based on the things that happen to them. Elba, you were saying?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to point something here because okay, I have been with my husband like for 18 years. So I have been seeing changes. And his nose was like straight. He had a straight nose. And now if you can see him now, he has a turned down nose. So things the nose change. It's not the age, is I think is the things that you live and the things that happen to you and the way that you are in the time.
Claire says maybe he became disillusioned after so many years of humanitarian work, and that is the cause of his nose turned down. Yeah, that's the reason. It says if I wouldn't read Gandhi and I didn't know that he was Gandhi, I couldn't tell you why. Okay, there are certain features that you can determine, like grieving, like bitterness and things like that. He says, well, something happened to you, you have a loss and you're holding that loss, and that's causing you bitterness, but I cannot say it's because your dad died or because you lost somebody that you care or lost your husband. I cannot tell you what is the reason, but as soon as I say it, like, well, I lost X and Y and I still hold in a grudge. So that's when you start a conversation during the face reading to help people. But in the beginning, you says the feature, and I tend to not too much about the person so they don't think it's a cold reading or I'm trying to do like a trick them. But that's the things that I can read on the face. This is Shivani. Oh no, sorry. Are you ready? Okay, I'm trying to see if I'm not missing anyone. His eyelids in the first photo, more eyelids on the personal side and thin eyelids on the business side. Laser focus and later picture. So you says the more eyelid on the personal. Yes, correct.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, he was obliged to get married really, really early. So
At the
maybe it
age of
has to,
13.
at the age, oh my God, those arranged marriages. And the worst
And
part is still happening. Yeah.
yeah, it's still happening. And and his wife was 1 year older than him. She was 14.
Ah, that's crazy.
Hmm.
His nostrils are large in the early picture, but it looked like his nose got much wider over time. Yep, got wider.
Yes.
Actually, he become what happened with the bottom of the nose actually has to do with him. A person who have the bottom of the nose wider,
Hmm.
it's a person who is more humanitarian, and it's taking everybody under their umbrella, and they're always willing to help everyone. Sounds familiar with Gandhi?
Yeah. Oh, I have a question, Susan. I have something.
Yeah.
What do
Uh-oh.
you can see in the third picture?
I'm sorry.
It's over his elbow.
I lost your audio. What you said, love?
Oh, okay. If you can see the third picture, what
Yeah.
you can see over his eyebrows?
The will. Okay. He have the will pad and he have the agnostic lines, and he have
Yes.
a huge critical line. You see the
Yes.
critical line under the lip, and he have those will pad. It's like he have a second set of eyebrows,
Hmm.
and they're not chameleon eyebrows. They still you can see the eyebrows because the picture is black and white, but you see those like shape. I says like the arches of McDonald and top of the eyebrows. Those are the lines who says that is a person who doesn't believe absolutely anything that is put in front of him, and if it's not proven first. That's why you
Yes.
was testing me.
Yes.
Okay. Perry says, I'm also fascinated how his jaw become much more rounded as time progressed. Jennifer says 1891 photo whites are showing below the iris of the eye. I forget that What that's mean? Is that a complicated personality? No, it's when you are is under stress, when you are under pressure, you're under stress or disconnecting from reality because it's too much. Now, if you see the white upper part of the eye, there's nobody home. Run, run, run. And that white part of the eye can lead to some aggression and violence, not because your violence is because the level of stress you have is too much. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
And this part, he wasn't under stress because it makes coherence, because in this time he got jail like 6 times. He went to jail. So yeah.
Yeah. Dicky says Peter Russell has this kind of issues, the comedian. I don't know which one you are referring, Dicky. Sorry. Terry says his earlobes also look completely different in the last picture. Yeah, he was more pragmatic. Let me see. Do you know what, Terry? I don't think that the earlobes change. I think because the ear is bigger. But if you look the proportion of the earlobe with the proportion of the ear on the last picture and the proportion with the ears on the first one is the same earlobe. Elba, what do you think?
I think the same. I'm just when you put it, I was like thinking on that, and it's not the earlobe. It's just the ear got bigger because it's the same proportion.
Somebody in Facebook is, what about only seeing the white under the eyes and not the top? Meaning that is a stress. Actually, I do pro bono training first responders now with the situation with the mask and things like that. And I would say paying attention to the eyes. If a person have a concussion and you can see a lot of white on the eyes, that person have a brain injury, have a concussion, something is going on, you need to rush to the hospital, or is under a lot of stress, or somebody is in panic. Panic is a stress, anger is a stress. So everything who has to do with white under the eyes is level of stress. Now, the stress can escalate in violence. The stress can escalate in you having a syncope and collapsing, having a stroke. What are the reasons? I'm not a doctor, but stress is showing on the eye. There is a slight perspective issue with the placement of the skull up, slightly up versus down. It's changed the characteristic a bit where it can look more different than it actually is. I don't do phrenology. So in my case, I wouldn't be able to tell you about that, but thank you for the perspective. Is somebody's phrenologist here? Please be my guest. Oh, thanks for the clarification on the earlobes. Remember, we always need to go in proportion. We need to do proportionally things. Oh, wow, thank you. Okay, we have a lot, and we have is anything else you want to mark before we go into the handwriting analysis?
No, I think we had everything.
Okay, I'm gonna say thank you to Dale Roberts, and I was under the impression, we have his information after, so we're gonna hear about the progression on the handwriting of Gandhi. I wanna thank Dale for being our guest today, and I just realized that the logo is just on top of his head. Sorry,
Yes.
Dale. Oh, and
I
by the
noticed.
way, it's a little, you're going to hear crickets and you're going to hear a problem with the audio. I was in the garden when I recorded him. So my apologies. It's not his end, it's mine. I'm not going to record ever again in my garden.
The writing is very connected, which tells us, for starters, he has a very high social intelligence. He's altruistic. He was a man of high ideals, but he was also very directive, and directive in the sense that he didn't have a problem with imposing his ideas on other people. When you see in this middle line sympathy in this, and he has a double T, two T's next to each other. This tells us two things. He had a strong desire to get better, to improve. He also had that arc in the T-bar would tell you that he was deeply conscientious about trying to correct what he viewed as a fault. If somebody was pointed out a fault to him, he would try hard to fix it. He was somewhat on the impulsive side, but his eye dots are all off to the right. These are usually people who make lists. That's how they organize their own thinking. He was also quite tough on himself.
Dale, I see a difference between the T's and I want, against, and right. The T's are different than sympathy and that word that we cannot define what it is. Okay, you're a handwriting analysis,
yes,
not a speech, what you're writing.
Well,
but the T's are different.
Okay, the reason that, and it's interesting that you see so many differences in the T's just in a sample of this size, because you've got at least a half a dozen examples of T's. There are over 40 ways to cross a T in the English language.
Really?
And, yeah, and you see a half a dozen of them here. What you do see in these is there was a lot of inconsistency in willpower, because when it's off to the right, you want to look at the trends. When they're off to the right, this is somebody who's going to be very animated in their communication. The length and the strength of the T-bar, the heaviness of it, tells you a lot about the person's willpower and their ability to stay focused on a difficult task. Where he places it on the stem tells you a lot about his goals and his altruistic sense. The fact that you have a lot of variety in the T-bars, that alone would tell you there was inconsistency for him. He had a tough time staying focused. He wasn't really clear in his long-term objectives. His willpower was inconsistent. But he was one who was directive towards people. There's some procrastination. I don't know if he was right or left-handed. And I don't know how we would know that. But the fact that if you look at how many of his T-bars are off to the right of the letter.
Oop, I bring Elba back to the stream and I pause. Only to clarify, the first handwriting that Dale is analyzing is from Gandhi from the 1930. Okay, and the next one that he is gonna be analyzing is from 1939.
That usually is, we'll say that that's a sign of somebody who is animated in conversation. Now, is this a signature at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, and Gandhi, is that actually the first name or the first? They put the last name first in Hindu.
You know what? I do think that it's a cultural thing that what we put, if we put the month first or the year first or the day first, and how the signatures are done. I don't know in India and Asian countries how it get done, but I would say most of the writings that we have, the last part of the signature and Gandhi ended up being the stand-up signature that he used on the next writings that we have, even on the letters he wrote to Hitler.
Okay, well, his name was Mohandas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mohandas Gandhi, but here he signs it with Gandhi first. Because this on the right is obviously Mohandas.
Yeah.
And the left is the Gandhi.
Does it have any meaning or significance?
I think it's one of the cultural things of it being Hindu. That honestly, though, that's kind of a guess on my part. The same way that, when we sign our own name, you would sign it Susan Ivins, but sometimes you write Ivins, comma Susan.
Hmm.
So in this case, I think this is just a cultural thing. What I get from this most significantly is that you do see some right slant to it, which is that he's very emotionally driven. But at the same time, you see enough, it's vertical enough, and there's sometimes some left slant to tell you that he feels pulled in opposite directions.
Now we have a note of him from 1939, so 9 years later. And like I told you, you see the evolution of his signature, where he only simplified the signature here on these years.
His identity as Gandhi grew in that time.
Oh, really
I
interesting.
would think so. I would think so. Well, you notice he only uses the initial MK, Gandhi. I would say that during that time, this sample is actually better than the first one.
Why?
Well, it's clearer. The baseline is better. The eye dots are closer in, paying more attention to details. The communication, I'd say, is clearer. He's saying, "You have my good wishes for the new year. How I wish the new year may mean an era of peace for your afflicted people." But something I think is interesting about this is that he also does a lot of retracing in his upper zone, such as in the word afflicted. Retracing either an upper or lower zone in the double F's, you see? You know what I mean by retracing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some words look like darker than the other ones.
Okay. That's a pressure variation.
Mm-hmm.
And you always have to allow that if the pressure is changing, again, there's inconsistencies for him. But the retracing of that would tell me that he is cautious about what he lets into his mind. He's more skeptical. It's interesting. I don't know in what context that was he writing to Hitler in this, or
No.
No, I didn't think so. But whoever he's writing to, I think in that time he's now clearer in his own thinking, because it's the writing. You have to look at the writing as this is both in what he says and how he writes is an expression of who he is and how he processes things. He generally prefers, I think, ideas or tasks, jobs with defined tasks, questions with defined answers. But he is more of an optimist. His memory for details is very good. It's actually improved.
Okay, and that was Dale. And Dale is gonna be with us live. He couldn't be, so no idea. I cannot answer you guys. My apologies regarding handwriting. But Dale is gonna be back. Hey, Sarah. Hi, love. How you doing? Okay, well, I found you guys. Good that you find us. Okay, let's see what I'm missing. I think he signed MK Gandhi and there is another word before it. His middle name start with a K. I don't know about handwriting, guys. I'm so sorry. We tried to put more experts. Some of them, as you see, Lina got stuck on the doctor and Dale couldn't do it live. So he re-recorded. And can you hear the crickets on the back? mostly.
Yes. You know
Anyway,
what? Even you say it, when I start hearing it like really close, I was like, I don't have any crickets here. Yes.
that happens when you live in the forest. Perry says, interesting that he's celibate and there are few lower loops. Love, I cannot answer you, but I can ask Dale. Actually, I'm gonna put the contact information for Dale and his book in case you want to talk to him or follow with him. I love crickets. Me too, but not in a show. It's extremely irresponsible from my side. My apologies. So okay, we're gonna go with Hitler, and we have a lot of videos. Moonlight View says the S indicates SRI, which is a common term in holiness. And Perry says, I always wonder what SRI means. Thank you. You see, we have our producer. Um, okay, we have another producer, Gavin Stone. How you doing? How was your arm? His full name was Muhammad Karam. Why are you doing that, babe, Gavin? Mahatma Karamchand Gandhi. Thank you very much. Good to have you guys here. Uh, Susan and Elba, you both have your head crooked to the side. I'm not in my office, not in my chair, so I probably crooked. I don't have light either. Good, so you don't see that I'm so tired. So we're going to talk about Hitler. Most of you don't know that Hitler wanted to be a painter. And actually, I have the chance to see some of his paintings. And one of the reasons they're not exposed to the public is so the same way where when he was killed or commit suicide, whatever is your version. Actually, when I went to Germany, it's not a museum, it's not a grave, it's only a parking lot. So people don't go and congregate. For that same reason, people don't show their paintings. But I did a compilation so you can see how were the paintings in the beginning and how he started losing the color on the he paintings he did. And I want to see somebody notice something on a common denominator, and I would say 95% of the paintings. You cannot say anything, Alba, because you know what I'm talking about.
You know what I did with my mouth.
Press your lips. Okay, let's see. Guys, what is one common denominator on his paintings? Sarah says mountain. Yeah, nature. He liked wait. Moonlight, you're near something. What else? Symmetry, no. It is lakes, water, nope. It's the absence of something. You want to see the video again, guys? Let's put the video again. Let's see if you catch it this time. Okay, Dick says, not much to say about it without knowing about the period. No, you know what? It's not about the period. It's the absence of something. No definition, absence of sun. The people are great. Great. You're not going to see faces.
No.
You're going to see blurry faces. The reason, actually, what he didn't get on the art institute is because he couldn't paint faces. When I found out the faces of the dogs he paint, it was like, okay, wait a minute. So he didn't have prosopagnosia, because initially with Elba, like, maybe he had prosopagnosia, but he couldn't paint faces. If you realize, and you can Google Hitler paintings, you're going to find out that all the few faces that he paint, they're blurry. He never defined he never did the definition of the faces.
No.
And doesn't matter what is the painting style. Picasso did it on purpose, how he deformed the faces. But in this case, I wanted to show you that in the beginning he was really colorful, and after that he was like down with the colors, but no faces. And most of the paintings, they don't have humans. There's not people. It's only the buildings. He didn't care about the capture the people. There are people in only a few. Great. Jennifer said no sun, no sun, no. Sarah says less color, absent of sun. Yeah, it was really, really dark. Well, we're talking about Hitler, no? Hello. Oh, we have much. This is Sarah, by the way. Ah, Sarah. Oh my God, this is amazing. You see, uh, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. So that's what it says, guys, be ready, because that's the reason we did it half an hour early, because it's going to be a long show. It's a lot. And we find a video, and instead to copy what he did, we just edit part of the video, and we give credit to this guy about as fascinated. Okay, did you know not who designed, but who produced the uniforms for the Nazis and the era? A really, really famous designer. Do not talk. I'm going to show you the video.
I just raised my hand. I didn't say anything.
Adolf Hitler was the inventor of the Volkswagen Beetle, which was designed for production by Ferdinand Porsche, who later went to develop the Porsche, which was the eleganted version of the Beetle. Thank you very much. Actually, BMW, and I don't remember what other company, they didn't start producing cars. They start producing tanks for the war. Okay, let's keep going, because as I told you, we are now bringing a lot of things. I was inclined to maybe call a psychologist to ask what about the faces, but we only have an hour and a half, and we already are in an hour. Okay, this is the information about Robert. If you want to contact Robert Dale, you can go to his website. I have his books assigned. That's the good news to know the people. So now he's going to be talking about the evolution on the handwriting of Adolf Hitler. I found signatures for like 37 years. So we put it together. It's fascinating how the signature evolved. And again, the audio problem is my fault. Sorry, Dale. He was a sweetheart. We record really early. From 1908 to 1945, those are the signatures that I found. There was a hit. It was good luck. No credit for that.
Well, the very fact that you've got, this is over a 37-year span. And what do you see about the signature? Well, it doesn't get clearer. In fact, it actually starts out much clearer than it is by the end. That's not really unusual. Many people's signature kind of dissolves over time. But look at how much larger the H becomes: 1920, 1925, 29, 37. With the years of his rising power, he becomes much more, in his mind, Hitler than Adolf.
Hmm.
Now, also, am I not in, I don't think I'm incorrect here, but this was not his name at birth.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know that. I'm gonna come back.
I thought his name was Schicklgruber.
Interesting. I'm gonna research that, and after the recording of this segment, I'm gonna come back and go to the bio.
Yeah, I thought his real name was Schicklgruber. But he became the persona of Hitler, and as he grew into that role, the largest H is in the time, about the time that he's coming into power. And he becomes very enamored of his own identity. And one, you know, anytime he spoke loudly and, you know, addressing huge crowds of people.
One of the things that it's the most significant for me from my ignorant standpoint is how like down the signature, going from like one letter down to like all the signature is down. And I found documents of him and their handwriting, but it's crazy that his signature, his moment of power, and at the same time, the moment of power coming higher, and he becomes the Führer.
Yes.
His last name like down.
Well, he started out in 1908 with a downward trend. The trend became the least about the height of his power around 37. That's the strongest baseline. But look at what it degenerates to by April 29th, 1945, which would have been very soon for his suicide. And everything about that signature is down. And which means by that time, he had really given up. And he knew it was over. And so he starts out with a big mouth and a lot of energy, and it quickly disintegrates to nothing.
Wow.
So when you look at 1937 compared to 1935, I would say that was at the height of his political power, where he's aggressive, he's competitive, he's the most focused on his goal and pushing himself the hardest, and he's ready to implement all of his goals, and he's got he sees everything as black or white, yes or no, there is no gray.
Dave, another thing that I noticed is in the beginning of 1908, he put Adolf Hitler together, and Adolf disappeared and Hitler become more prominent, and it's a separation between the first letter and the last name. Did it have any significance?
Well, it goes back to what I said about he became ever more focused on being the persona of Hitler.
Okay.
More so than Adolf. And you know, people refer to him in last name only many times. You just hear people talk about Hitler. They don't say, oh, let's talk about Adolf Hitler. It's just Hitler. If you say Hitler, you know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay, guys, I see I cannot pull your messages when I have the video, because if it's not, I stop the video. It's another thing then I found out. I'm gonna pull your messages. I saw, okay, I have Gavin, our producer. Hitler was almost Adolf-ish. Okay, again, Gavin, what is with... Who's gonna, okay, guys, you read it. Thank you, Gavin Stone, for putting it in. I will not gonna be able to do this. His father was born out of, okay, guys, you can read all these letters. I will not gonna commit public suicide trying to say that. Okay, we have a lot of messages. Moonlight says his stepfather was a constable, I think, as well. I'm not sure what you maybe is coming from a message up. I don't understand what you're talking about. Why he's signing in? You know what, Dick? That is a really good question. And another thing that I talked to Dale after we do the recording is how significant is that Gandhi and Hitler, they dropped the first name and they signed both with the last name. You see how parallel things go? Okay. Both Mahat and Shari are titles as opposed to names. Shri is a title of respect similar to Sir. Mahat means most high. Thank you for the information. He's got a dagger strokes. Again, completely ignorant. One of what I love about recording with Dale was that I was like really asking questions from observer's point of view. But guys, thank you, Dale Rovers, for the
Well, the
handwriting
very fact
analysis.
that you've got, this is over a 30.
Okay, now I want to ask you to pay attention to this video. This is not a political statement. I always says, do your homework and check history. Let's see how and why Hitler becomes so powerful, and pay attention to the last part of the last historian on the comment he says, and I'm gonna say it after. This is from Timeline. Thank you very much, Timeline. We're using your video.
By 1932, there was 35 to 40% unemployment in Germany.
That is how catastrophic the Depression was. When you throw manual workers out of jobs, of course, the people who are the clerks in these occupations suffer as well.
In that situation, voters thought this is the last straw. We've had hyperinflation, we've had international humiliation, we've got political chaos. The Nazis seem to be the one party that's led by youthful, determined, energetic individuals.
They promoted the party actually in 1930 particularly as the Hitler movement, the Hitlerbewegung. This of course was after Hitler had had the ban on his public speaking lifted, and so he had been going around speaking a great deal.
They were very, very vague on what they intended to do. They seemed to have to offer something to every constituency in Germany, the worker, the manager, the lower middle class, women.
What he was saying in one place wasn't necessarily compatible with what he was saying elsewhere in terms of, say, economic detail.
We're going to make Germany great again. We're going to...
Did you hear that?
Yes, clear and loud.
Okay, I'm gonna put it. Guys, pay attention to this segment.
We're going to recover. We're going to have work for everybody. We'll put Germany back on the international scene. We're going to rescue the German family. We'll give German women a much better life. These are all cliches. And when you probe, they really don't have any particular policies that they can actually present in a rational way to the general public.
Are we clear, no? It's anybody who wanna Pandora box, just open it. Reagan, you said too. I don't know why anyone, you guys know that I work in politics as a political consultant for a long, long time. I'm gonna say it to everybody who did the campaign. Do your work. Know your subject like the Bible. If it's not, look for another work. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I will not going to go to politics because I'm apolitical. I work with whatever candidate it's hired me to do. But seriously, nobody bring it ever. Grab a story, grab a book, read something. Thank you very much. Now we know where that phrase is coming from.
Yes.
Dick says, just realized I wrote his name out. Okay. Is his mustache this guy a costume? Oh, we're gonna be reading his face, and Elba have a special on his bigot. Okay, Dick, I know that you were writing about Stalin and the brands, and yeah, most of the brands at the time were related to the Nazis. You're completely right. Okay, we're going to the next. I told you guys we have a lot. Now, what are you waiting for? Face reading. Okay. What is the common denominator between Gandhi and Hitler regarding one feature that get two changes from the 19 to the 44? Which one it is?
I can say it or let people try it.
No, say it. If it's not, it's going to explode.
Yes.
I can hear you hyperventilating. Come on, say it.
Ears. You can see the ears.
Mhm.
It is when we talk and I put the pictures and we talk with Susan, we were like, oh, the ears. You see how the ears were stick out. Hitler had low ears, so he needed information. He goes low, but at the end, the ears change and get higher and a little bit more bigger. So you see the coherence with both.
Mhm.
So
And it's
for me,
funny
it was like,
because
oh,
and I think it was Jennifer who said before that Gandhi had more exposed eyelids on the personal and no eyelid on the professional. In the case of Hitler, it's the completely opposite at the similar age. A lot exposed, he needed a lot of help on his business side, but in his personal side, he was laser focused.
yes.
Jennifer just said his eyelids are the opposite of Gandhi in the first photo. This on the personal side and more eyelid on the business side. I was quoting you, Jennifer. Yeah, you see, it's crazy. He's not turned down over time too. Yes. Dick says nose. Yes. You can have similar features. And one of the things that I'm going to clarify, and I'm going to say it, so I'm going to take responsibility of this is you can have similar features. Both were, again, influencers, both mobilize nations, both make history for different reasons. But some of the features that both have are similar and evolve on the same similar way. On the case of Hitler, he have a more asymmetric face, and that can be one of the reasons that they have similar features. Here we go. Okay. I want to make, Dick says, suffer from the same issues as the last three of Gandhi. Can be explained away with perspective changes. Maybe I missed one of your uh, can be explained away with those perspective changes. Both become accepted. You don't see the same skeptical lines in Hitler, but it's a significant. Both of them too. They cover the upper lip and they don't talk about feelings. But you read about a theory why Adolf Hitler always covered his upper lip. What it is?
If you notice when we put the video of the bio, when he was a soldier on the World War I, he had the mustache, but it's longer. He always had mustache. Why? He had a friend that is called Alexander Frey, and he said that he always covered his mustache because he has a scar. So that's why. And then when he after the World War I, he changed it because for the gas mask, so it has to fit, so they cut it. But he always covered his scar.
Gavin asked what do you mean of the jewels. Jewels has to do with authority. When you talk, people listen to you. That has to do with the jowl. So when the ladies want to take away this, it's like, don't take it away. That is your authority. Joel, yes, explain, please. I explained it, Sarah. Is the part of the face that Hitler is covering with the mustard related to sexuality? Yes, sir. It is.
You got it.
You got it. That was that was one of the reasons that we're going to talk. Actually, some people who does face reading more on the oriental side, not the western side, it says it has to do. They read the Hitler mustache has to do with sexuality and covering your sexuality. The libido lines is will determine how you define your how playful you are, how you define your role in a relationship. Know your sexuality as an identity, but your sexuality as a sexual person and how you want to be playful. He covered his sexuality all the time. Dick says, I assume it was just common at the time. A lot of people sported that stash. Yes, but in his case, it was really peculiar. I don't know if I have seen Dick another people with that shape of mustache. And by the way, it make it look way more aggressive. I have Joel's. I know, love. I saw yours. Also, what is the dent below his lower lip? Is that the critical line extend upward? Oh, he had like big, big critical line. Actually, look in the 39 on the 19. Look on the 34 is like indented. And then the 44 is like, don't talk to me. I don't want you to talk to me. Everything that you says to me is going to take as a criticism. It says a normal thing of Charlie Chaplin had it. Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Thank you for that.
Chaplin had it too.
Chaplin had it before he started making fun. Yeah, and I do remember, I think that Charlie Chaplin did a movie making fun of the Führer, making fun of Hitler, I think, mimicking when the movies start having sound. I do think that Charlie Chaplin did the dictator. Okay, team, I'm sure that somebody's going to Google the movie that Charlie Chaplin did making fun of Hitler. What else you want to talk about, Elva?
The eyelids. You see how he started changing? In the 19, he had the opposite of Gandhi. In the 34, he was laser focused. On the 44, he started moving like, okay, I have to deal with people, but I need my time. So how they changed the three in the three pictures. And the self-will pad, he had it too.
Yeah, but he have on the 44 something that you had to, and the 44 in his personal life. That's what struck me. It's weird. And on the 44, he had it in both. And since you have it, I always make fun of that on your face. Good fun. Why don't you tell what it is?
It's when you are like a laser. You are going to burn until you get to the point. So if you have something, you will not stop. So yeah.
That is coherent with his personality. The Grand Theft? No, I don't think it was the Grand Theft. It doesn't sound like, I don't know if you're talking about the movie. So, anything else that you want to mark? You see those bags under the eyes at the end?
Yes.
But he always had it. He's like always have these like double bags under the eyes. And he had the cliff on the top of the nose.
Yes.
A player. He's not in the 19, but he had it on the 34. This is when you're a player, like you play on teams, and actually he was really good putting people together and making people follow him. When we talk about team player, it can be for good or for bad, but it's a person. It's someone who knows how to get people do what you want them to do. So if you are a sales manager, if you have this cliff on the tip of the nose, it's good. In this case, wasn't good. Moonlight says, I don't like that mustache design. It's gross. Ah, me neither. I don't like mustache in general. It's you
Neither.
kiss them, no, and you're
No,
gonna and
no, no,
you
no.
tomato sauce? No, no.
Yes, no.
Perry said, I'm not sure if it's his nose getting narrower, but it seemed that his nose get longer with and more defined in the center. Yeah, I think the nose changed and the top of the nose changed too. The bridge
Yeah.
changed it too.
She
Yeah, he
started playing
become
like independent. He became independent.
yeah, but he become more emotional too. Remember, Song 2 has to do with feeling
Yes.
and money. Who can be correlation what Dale says that he was depressed on the 45?
Mm-hmm.
He become more emotional. No, he turned down like Gandhi. And but he says, but surprisingly not hugely turned down like Gandhi. Nope, Gandhi become more pessimist. Even though Dale says on 1939, Gandhi was an optimistic. But the picture that we read at the end is a picture from, I would say, the last years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he died 10 years later that he wrote that letter. He wrote the note that Dale read it for us. So he ended up his life being extremely pessimist. So anything else, Elva? Or are we gonna go to the body
Yeah.
language?
I just want to point one more thing because I think it's bigger. The secret lines in his
Oh yeah.
dictation.
I was expecting that somebody's gonna mess with that because I don't remember who's the one who always get my secret line. Can we address his horrible drug addiction? I'm not aware of that. Moonlight, sorry, I didn't went there. His eyebrows are thinner in 1945, are not only thinner, they kind of disappearing. So they becoming more and more chameleon. So you don't know what is going on. Uh, Nobody knows what is going on there. Perry says he has those lines at the top of the nose. That's the lines that he got. Elva says because she had it too, and he had huge secret lines. You can see it here, huge, and he lost his mouth. Holy cow! Holy cow!
Yeah, he loved it.
Okay, I want to show you how a person can be. You can hear it, you can not hear it, but the body language of this man is like, holy cow, he's gonna punch me.
Wir sind doch wieder ein so anständiges Volk geworden. Wir sind doch jetzt wieder ein so fleißiges und tatkräftiges Volk geworden. Was schaffen wir jetzt nicht wieder in Deutschland? Was haben wir nicht für Aufgaben? Man hat uns die ganzen Jahre schon eingeredet, dass der Deutsche sowieso nicht ganz gleichwürdig sei den anderen Völkern in der Welt. Was haben wir heute für Aufgaben? Was für gewaltige Werke bauen wir? Wir bauen heute die schönsten Straßen, gewaltige Anlagen, industrielle Art, neue Erfindungen haben wir gemacht, ungeheure Wohnhauskolonien, sie werden entstehen.
Now, we're not going to defend, we're not going to talk good, bad. We're talking about from a behavioral standpoint, okay? He was a great orator. He was a great presenter.
Mm-hmm.
He was good with his body language. He knew how to control it. He knew how to use it. He knew how to use the decade of the voice, how to accentuate the words. I don't understand German, but the person I was today having lunch is German, and another person that I know, I make them hear the speech, and they says he's putting the stop on the effort and stressing the right words. What do you think?
I think the same. He was a great when he talked, and you know what? I like how he moved because he started one point and he captured the attention with everyone.
I says I didn't understand a word of that, but the body language has me impassionated. That's what I'm saying. So we need to I do think that if we don't know the story, if we don't know what happened, where people coming from, we have the chance that we can repeat it on the present and repeat it in the future. But we need to study too how these people ended up on the place they end, doing good or doing bad. But we need to understand them. It's like when people says we need to kill serial killers or people who commit certain crimes. Like, no, we need to study them. That's what I love the program in the New Mexico jail. They are there is a completely study about psychopaths, and we know how to address them. We can understand how the mind works because we can study them. So I'm not agreeing, but I fascinating to see videos and how he evolved and the language and the speech he used and how he used your body language too. He used the right arm a lot more. It will be interesting to know what he was saying when he used both arms. He was emphasizing different things. It was the same subject, but he was emphasizing and on the same topic. He was talking. He was the open of a conference. I was looking for the Olympics, but the video quality was really, really bad. But in the Olympics, the speech was really good and with subtitles. Dicky says, remind me of Obama's speeches. Thought at his were a little more toned down. Yeah, Obama was more toned down. But if you look in Clinton too, he is. I remember being on a room and he getting in the room and feeling his present. If you look the Clinton box, like we have today things in body language who started with Clinton. So again, if you want to know how a person can with with their body, with the word, and how to intonate and how to impassionate people on the room, you need to pay attention to these people. Why? Again, they make a movement where nothing existed before. You watch Castro, Mussolini, well, we don't have anything about Napoleon, but for the way the people describe it, we're this way. We'll need to know the culture of the time for that personality. I would say you hear other people's speeches on the time, and it was how good he was manipulating others. It's interesting too because even though it's energizer, there are more moments of flow. Their arms swap around and has a rising up to better sense. Yeah, you see, sometimes you don't even understand the word they talking, but you can go with the Dickens.
I agree with that.
He had Parkinson. I didn't know that. Though at least I didn't find anything saying that. Clinton and Obama's gestures are crisp and intentional, if I remember correct. Yeah. I mean, for the arm movement that habitualize more than the face is. Well, he was expressive with the face too. He was emphasizing with the head and with the face and with the gestures. He used all the body. He was a brilliant speaker. Again, I'm not talking about what he did. I'm talking about the way he speaks. Jennifer says, it's speculated that he has Parkinson's symptoms, including masked facial expression that appear uncaring or uninterested. Some believe that that is why he held his arm tight at his side and later speeches in an attempt to control tremors. Thank you for the information. I didn't know that. So again, paying attention to the story, paying attention to the past in order to understand how they become who they are. Now, this is the last part of the show. This video is for Real Men, Real Style. He did an amazing job. I don't want to take it. He talked about the swastika. What is the origin? how the uniforms was designed, how the SSS come in. And again, I think it's an amazing video. Again, we have nothing to do with the video, but when somebody does a great job, it's almost 8 minute video. It's a little longer, but if you can't have the chance to see it, I think it's the best compilation that we have. We make it shorter, the videos longer, about the uniform, who did the uniform, the SSS, and how it was designed. By the way, most people don't know that the swastika flag was designed by Hitler in 1930. And where take the symbol from? This guy's gonna say it.
Their uniform as one of the most stylish that many people have ever seen. Why is that? The answer is quite simple. One, the uniform was a good product. It was well designed, it was adorned with recognizable symbols, and it was modeled by fit individuals. Now, that reason alone could have propelled this uniform to stardom, but there were two other reasons of why this uniform became iconic. Next up, we've got exposure. This is the reason these uniforms became iconic even in their own time period. Basically, you had Germany in the 1930s and even throughout the war using propaganda. They had propaganda ministers. They had filmmakers come in and they put these uniforms in the best light possible. And finally, let's talk about reinforcement and repetition. So the reason these uniforms are iconic today is because they keep popping up on the screen. Hollywood keeps reaching back and pulling these things out. They love the symbolism. They love the look. Again, it's a good product. So when they put it out there, it's very easy for us to be able to spot the bad guy. It's very easy for us to see the villain because he's dressed in black. So let's go deeper on the design of the SS uniform and start this off by dispelling one of the biggest myths out there, and that is Hugo Boss did not design the SS uniform. They manufactured these uniforms. They made them, but they did not design them. Now, the designer was actually a relatively unknown Nazi designer by the name of Karl Diebitsch. Now, Diebitsch was an early Nazi sympathizer, joining the party in 1920s. If you know your history, in the 1920s, the Nazi party had some ups and downs, a number of members killed. In the 1930s, though, he came back and rejoined the SS and put his unique skills to work designing uniforms with another gentleman named Walter Heck. Now, as good as these Nazi designers possibly were, what made them really smart is that they stole timeless designs. These guys didn't reinvent the wheel. They didn't start from scratch. They actually reached into history and pulled out symbols and colors that had worked. Now, why the color black was chosen, there's a few theories out there. Some people say secretive societies and just that the color black had that mystery, had that look they were searching for. Other people say they were inspired by the Jesuits. If you know anything about that Catholic organization, a little bit of, the higher educated, basically the higher class. My belief is that they stole from their own history. Check out this guy, August von Mackensen. He was a living military legend in the 1930s. A field marshal during World War I. Notice the skull and crossbones right there in the hat. You can't miss it. What does this symbolize? For many people, it symbolizes death. But for others, it's a symbol of a rejection of death, of spitting in death's face, that you take no prisoners and that you will not be taken alive. Now, at the height of the power of the SS, it can be argued that its leader, Heinrich Himmler, was the second most powerful man in Germany, right next to Adolf Hitler. If you think about it, here's a guy that had no prior military experience, was relatively young for the position he had, and had a big feeling of inadequacy. In fact, there's a lot of stories that talk about just Goebbels and all these generals just kind of, laughing, because he was, if you look at his uniform and the details on his uniform, he was trying to put anything he could on there. He didn't have medals from the war, and he started going down that slippery slope of trying to look like he was decorated, yet he truly wasn't a combat veteran. Part of the whole symbolism that went into making sure those uniforms were immaculate and the best ones out there was because of the inadequacies that Himmler felt. Now, this next symbol is probably the most recognizable Nazi symbol in the world, and that is the swastika. But what's interesting here, and just like all the other symbols I'm talking about, the Nazis didn't come up with this. They stole this. And in fact, the word swastika in Sanskrit means conductive to well-being. This was a good luck charm. You look throughout Asia, you throughout parts of the world, for hundreds and hundreds of years. This symbol has been out there, and it's been something that you see on temples, you see being used, and it always meant something good until in the 1930s, the Nazis took this over, and yeah, it all went downhill. Now, why this symbol just looks so striking on this uniform is the use of color and contrast. We've got a black uniform, a very stark color. All of a sudden, you're bringing in a power red with the white. This combination right here, that red, white, black on a black uniform, is striking, grabs attention, very easy to spot. And now let's talk about the symbol of the Schutzstaffel, aka the SS. Now, the SS was based off an ancient rune, and that rune symbolized the sun. What they did is they turned it, and they actually changed a bit of history and said, no, this thing actually represents victory. So you saw the SS, which represented the name of the unit, but it also represented victory, victory. And the guy behind this, remember that graphic designer, Walter Heck, we talked about earlier? Yeah, he had a hand in this. And on an interesting side note, this symbol became so powerful in Germany that they actually adjusted their typewriters to have the symbol on it. So at this point, we have the uniforms designed. We have these amazing symbols. Now let's go into Hugo Boss. So he did manufacture the uniforms. And the way it works is a lot of manufacturers, they don't do the designs. They actually take the design and then they execute on it. And this was also a time period when a lot of clothing was made specifically for the individuals. I know when I was in the Marine Corps, it was something I could go to the Marine shop and I would pay extra and I would have the uniform tailored and cut to me. This was a big thing, especially in the 1930s. And if you were also going to be filmed, if you were going to be at an event that Hitler was going to be at, you made sure everything was adjusted. Tailoring was big. And that is a big part why when we see these pictures that the uniforms just look amazing. Not only were they well designed, but they were on fit young men who had this clothing tailored to fit them. And on a side note, Hugo Boss actually died in 1948. His son took over the company, and him and his business partners turned it into the giant, brand that it ended up becoming in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. But what's interesting is you go back and you look at in 1945 during the denazifying process, which they would make you take all these classes, basically figure out what level of a Nazi you were. He was actually considered to be one of the lower level and went through and paid a fine. And didn't pay a fine because he had worked with the Nazis. He paid a fine because he used 150 slave laborers. In fact, it can be argued the greatest thing the Hugo Boss company ever did was rebrand itself. Their look.
Okay, guys, so you see how interesting is know a little more about the things that maybe other people doesn't say. Well, we have a lot. I saw somebody bring The Great Dictator is Chaplin movie. Thank you, Shivani. I remember the movie, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to say it. Hi, Isis, how you doing? Well, you can see the rewatch. Dicky says Hitler did have Parkinson. It's on the National Institute of Health. If you want to Google it, thank you. We have the best producers ever. No, Elba?
Yes, I think. Thank you for that, because there's things that you can put and they're great.
They had Game Wars games as propaganda for kids. You know what? Again, there is so much information that we couldn't have done a show on Hitler for 40 years, for 4 hours or 4 years too. But I want you to clarify something. We wanted, Eloy and myself, put the uniform story because it's something about the power of the uniform you use. The Milgram experiment, when he made other people to give electricity to others. The main reason why the people did it is because somebody with a doctor uniform was telling them, if somebody come to you with a police uniform and say, do not cross the street, you're not going to cross the street. But if somebody with a suit or sport clothing says, do not cross the street, you're going to cross the street.
Yes.
The uniform and the way that we present ourselves, it's mold how we follow orders. And from the propaganda, from the way they dress, from the way they walk, from the way they show in front of others, how the way they tailor the uniform to the body, everything was millimetrically well done. It was a manipulation from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
It's a story to pay attention. It's not a pleasant story. My grandmother escaped from Auschwitz. Don't get me wrong. But you need to know your enemy to understand how they did what they did. Elba?
Yes, I agree with that because, like we said, we put Gandhi and we put Hitler, and you saw it. They had a lot of similarities with his face, for example, and one of them used it for the good and one of them used it for the bad. But at the end of the day, they were similar.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's important. Vicky says this is blinding us for the real threat. No, is to understand that those threats, believe it or not, they're still out there. We still have
A
crazy
lot of them.
people.
Yes.
Yep, the 33 strategies of war explain what she just said. Yep. And there another book called The Power, who talk about those strategies too. If it's not, you read Tan Su or read The Prince from Machiavelli, and you can understand, or you can read stories about battles and strategies from the Rome's. You can read strategies from Napoleon. It's extremely interesting. Again, we always have the chance to learn something. Elba, if people want to communicate with you, I'm going to write to you and says just hi, where they can find you.
You can find me at elba@humanbehaviorlab.com. And for you, Susan?
You can contact me to Susan at humanbehaviorlab.com. Guys, we have questions. And for the guys on the class, remember we have open class. Dicky is given us another book, The Five Rings, so on and so on. Yes. Thank you very much. So guys, any more questions? Sorry for the ones who I couldn't put you on the screen. I realized that when we have a video running, if I pull any of your message to the screen, the video stop. Doesn't matter how many monitors I have. So my apologies. As you see, we bring in more channels. We bring in more guests. Thank you very much to Dale Roberts to do the reading with us. The next one, we will try to have it live. Perry said, thank you for an amazing live. Thank you for being here. And the reason we did it half an hour early is because you guys, in 30 minutes, I see you on the open class. Boss, as always, it's been a pleasure. Without you, it's so boring. So boring.
I think it's a pleasure to be here. I love every Friday with the lives. Yes.
See you next Friday, guys. Bye.